So now here still in topic D, now we're going to think about how do we add and subtract fractions and numbers when there are many of them. And we want to help kids to think about how numbers can be reorganized using what we call the associative property. And the associative property tells us that 2 plus 3 plus 6 plus 5 is the same thing as, so I could organize it like this, 2 plus 3 plus 6 plus 5, or I could rearrange things and do 2 plus 6 I can move the parentheses around. I can move things around so that I can add things that might be easier for me to do, and I'll still get the same answer. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to reorganize those things, and I'm going to commute them around, use the commutative property to move them around a little bit to help me add things. So I'm looking for terms that have the same units, like thirds and thirds. And I'm going to put those together. And then fifths and fifths. And when it's written like that, it becomes much easier to solve. 2 thirds plus 1 third is 1, 3 thirds. 1 fifth plus 4 fifths is 5 fifths, that's 1, plus 1 is 2. And this simply becomes 1 plus 2, which is 3. Much easier than when we look at it up here, once we reorganize the units. And we'll do the same thing when we subtract. 5 and 7/8 minus the 7/8. I'm going to keep those units together. And then from that, I'm going to subtract 1/2 and subtract 1 1/2. Keep the units the same. So 5 and 7/8 minus 7/8 would be 5. Minus 1/2 equals 4 and 1/2. Minus 1 1/2 equals 3. So much easier when I reorganize the units. Now finally, we have challenge problems like this that your students might encounter if they're zipping ahead. And for this one, we've got unlike units, and we've got to figure out what goes here so that the sum will be 8 and 11/12. And one of the things that kids will be working on is how to change the problem into its opposite, so we can find out something that isn't there. In the same way that we do this, 3 plus what equals 7. One way that you might solve that is 7 minus 3 equals what? We do the opposite operation and we use the other numbers to find the fact family. We can do the same thing here. We can turn this around so it says 8 and 11/12 minus 14 thirds plus 9 fourths equals what? So if I take away these two things from my final sum, I should be left with that. And so when I add these two things together, I'll save you all the work to get there. I would get 6 and 11/12. And then 8 and 11/12 minus 6 and 11/12 would be equal to 2. Again, the finding out what this is, adding these fractions together, should be easy for your children now. The more difficult thing is learning how to use the opposite to find out that mystery number.